Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the life of me. so, welcome to my channel. I wanted to do a little story time about moi. And pretty much tell everybody why I started this little channel of mine. So, about 12 years ago, I found myself and a little jam. Well, not really a little jam, but unfavorable circumstances. That's what we're gonna say. And it sent my life down a really, really, really bad spiral, and it really wasn't my fault. Well, no, it was not my fault. A lot of things are my fault, but this wasn't one of them. So I went pretty crazy for a little while, and I need to tell somebody about it. Well, I've told a lot of people about it, but I need to tell somebody else about it. So check this out.
Such a nightmare. It's like I'm not even me anymore.
Hey, come here. Come on, look at me. You're freaking me. You gotta take a breath. Take a pause. Okay, if you're not you, tell me who you think you are.
Chris, you're not even listening.
Oh, I am listening, but come on. Somebody stole your purse. Oh, come on. I do believe. Yeah, that's not true. You know what I believe? I believe you're a very frightened woman. I think in general you're disconnected from the human race. I think you're way out there on your own. You mix in your father leaving.
Oh, no. My father has nothing to do with the fact that my car is missing. That's nothing to do with the fact that my house is empty. There's nothing to do with the fact that the Los Angeles Police Department is chasing after me and that somebody out there wants to kill me.
No, I believe something happened, but that just doesn't make sense. Oh, I don't want to be simplistic here, Angie, but I think you're just reaching out.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I am reaching out. Reaching out to anybody who knows me. Anybody who will listen to me and believe me. Be my friend and...
Hey, Angie. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's easier for me to play doctor than it is to listen.
I don't understand. Why me? I am nobody. I am nothing. But they knew everything about me. They knew what I ate. They knew what I drank. They knew what movies that I watched. They knew where I was from. They knew what cigarettes I used to smoke and everything they did. They must have watched on the internet. I don't know. Watched my credit cards. Our whole lives are on the computer, and they knew that I could be vanished. They knew that nobody would care, that nobody would understand, and they knew it wouldn't matter anymore.
It's going to be okay. What can I do?
See, that was me. Why me? That's right. Why me? I'm nobody. Right? I'm nobody. But obviously, I'm a somebody. You won't leave me alone. But more about that later. Why would anyone do something like this to anyone, right? It's racism. It's racism, I tell you. I'm serious with that. It's racism. No, for real, it is. You want to know why? Because I'm an Arab. That's right. I said it. I'm an Arab. Ever since 9/11, every Arab is a terrorist. Every one of them. But I was born here. They can't take that away from me. Right here on God's green earth, I'm an American. You heard that? I'm from America, Jack. You can't take that from me. You can take everything else, but you can't take that from me. That's right. That's why you hear me. You no good. Okay. Let me gather myself. What was I saying again? I know I was being funny and everything, but I'm not playing with y'all. Like, this really happened to me. Like, 12 years ago. 12 years ago. I found myself being followed and all kind of crazy stuff was happening. And I was like, well, at first I was losing my mind. I was like, well, why is all this happening to me? Like, you know, I'm like everybody, just normal, you know, living my life, 20, you know, just having fun. And I started seeing so many strange things. And I'm like, I know I'm not going crazy. And then my boyfriend at the time, he's seen it. My mama's seen it. So many things will happen. I'm going to have to tell y'all about those things in another video. But I come to find out that through other sources close to me, confidential of course, we're not going to talk about those since they want to hide so many things. I'm not going to give them my confidential sources. But they did allude to the fact that these people thought that I was, you know, a terrorist or in terrorist activity, so they blacklisted me and they put me on the terrorist watch list. For those of you who don't know about the terrorist watch list, I'm about to show you. But first, I did mention I'm an Arab. Yes, I am, but I'm not 100% Arab. I am 50%. My dad is from Yemen, and he's 100% Arab, and of course he's American citizen now, and he's a devout Christian, as well as myself. But my mom, she is African Native American. She was born here in Queens, New York. My father and my mother met in Queens and made me. So, they decided that I don't know who's in charge of it. I don't know exactly all the details. All I know is from another source close to me that they found out some information through a line of questioning and asking questions about me, that it was because they thought I was, what do you call it, affiliated with terrorists somehow or some way. But these days you really don't know. You know, you could get shot for walking down the street the wrong way. I mean, we're living in dangerous times. But if you don't know what the terrorist watch list, check this out.
Has surfaced through The Intercept that's giving us an inside look at the government's terror watch list. We're just learning that nearly 40% of those on the government's terrorist watch list have no affiliation whatsoever with recognized terrorism groups. Earlier, I spoke with RT producer Tyrell Ventura to break down the very latest. I first asked him about some of the key revelations from this damning report.
It's pretty amazing what Scahill and The Intercept has been able to kind of put forth. But you're talking about, you know, the government has been adding names to this kind of watch database at a rate of almost 900 records a day, either on existing subjects or new names into the database. 1,600 or 16,000 people, including 1,200 Americans, have been classified as selectees. These are people who are targeted for screenings at airports and border crossings and things of that nature. In fact, the Obama administration has presided over an unprecedented amount of expansion on the kind of no-fly list and border crossings. It's an all-time high of 47,000 people now that has been uncovered in this. This information that they provided us has also uncovered that the top 5 U.S. cities with the most known or suspected terrorists in it are New York, Houston, San Diego, Chicago, and Dearborn, Michigan, which is this kind of an odd add to that list. Your major cities and then Dearborn, nothing
well,
like Dearborn.
Well, it's not that odd considering that the largest concentration of Arab Americans actually lives in Dearborn, Michigan, not far from where I'm from.
Exactly,
and so,
almost 40% of its population is from Dearborn, which kind of begs the question, you know, is this just profiling? Are these names that they're kind of throwing on this list clearly just for profiling? You know, when you talk about numbers earlier, 680, you know, out of the 100,000 of people on this, you know, to have 40% of that be people with no known affiliation to terrorist groups, that's a huge number to come out. That's huge.
And this is after we heard about the guidelines to which how they determine who should be on this list. Of course, they're very loose guidelines with, you know, people putting, you know, random people on this list with mere suspicions. But The report also gets into the biometric collection of these individuals. What do we learn from this report?
It's really interesting just at how much of the kind of wide-ranging biometrics they're now putting on people in this report. So if we go with the idea that okay, they're kind of very loose in how you get onto this database, and now suddenly you're also having your facial images, fingerprints, and iris scans and things of that nature being put on there. More than 500,000 facial images and nearly 250,000 fingerprints and 70,000 iris scans are contained in the database. As long as handwriting samples, signatures, scars, marks, tattoos, DNA strands. They're doing everything they can to kind of keep adding to this list.
Everything is valuable, apparently.
Yes.
And just lastly, to be clear, this latest revelation does not have anything to do with a leak from former NSA contractor Edward Snowden. This is completely separate.
No, this is a completely new leaker that we don't know quite who that is, except we just kind of are following, the Interceptor and Jeremy Scahill's reporting on this, and clearly they're doing a good job.
So perhaps that will come to light. We'll have to see who is behind this latest leak. Okay, RT producer Tyrell Ventura, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now that you got a little bit more information about what the terrorist watch list is, I also want to show you a clip from the National Geographic channel where a guy, an FBI agent named Michael German, talks about what it's like being on the terrorist watch list. Here, check this out.
What can the government do to him, to any of us, whether we're on the watch list or not? As a journalist, my first hunch is to go straight to the source. Michael German is a former FBI agent who has experience with the terrorism watch list. What is the internal designation given to people who are on that watch list?
Known or suspected terrorist.
Do you need to be a known or suspected terrorist to be given that designation?
No, you do not. There's plenty of evidence that people were put on these lists were investigated for no reasons. So you're building this expanding pool of suspects based on little or no real evidence.
What are the most extreme things that can happen to you if you end up in that system?
There's so little transparency that we don't know all the ways that the watch list might be used. So from a deprivation of rights standpoint, there's a lot you could lose.
Let's say I'm an American citizen. I get taken into secondary screening. Surely I have Fourth Amendment protections, right?
Not at the border. Anything coming across the border could be contraband, and therefore the government has the right to search it without a warrant.
The agents that take me to secondary screening have the authority to read the contents of my emails or my text messages?
And not just read them, but put them in a database for other agents across the intelligence community to read them. All of that information can be collected when you cross the border.
So I think a lot of people are not aware of this. What you're saying then is that at least some of our constitutional protections don't exist when we're in a border crossing or an airport coming back from abroad.
Right, you might try going to the airport tomorrow and seeing how you do.
Okay, so I thought I was done with this video, but after reviewing it, I guess I wasn't. So I had to put an ending on it. So now that you guys have heard my story and what happened to me on this terrorist watch list, and I've educated you on what the terrorist watch list is, and what it's like being on a terrorist watch list, and that's just a fragment of what it's like being on this terrorist watch list, just to let you know. But I'm going to be bringing you a whole lot more information pertaining to the politics, to being on this terrorist watch list, the politics of the activity of this terrorist watch list, and how people are hired to be, what you call it, hired, what they call them, perps. Yeah, they call perps. Okay, so, or what I call them, hired terrorists, because that's what they are. Even though the things that they do are a crime, for some reason in this universe, on this planet, if it's in a constitution somewhere that permits these people to legally abuse the rights of others and to strip people of their constitutional right, they're gonna have to show me this, because our constitutional rights are being taken away on this list. But I should have been did this. I should have been did. But anyway, I feel like I have been through hell and back on this terrorist watch list for like 12 years, in counting. I feel like I'm like that slave on that movie 12 Years a Slave, except after 12 years he was free, and I'm still enslaved by this system of government criminals, but I'm going to use this platform, like others like me, to tell more about my story, to share things that are going on in my life being on this terrorist watch list, and to also share and educate those who are on the watch list that haven't overcome some challenges that I have overcome, because I've been on it 12 years and I'm still here. With all the things that they've done to me, still doing, have tried to do, I'm still here by the grace of God. Okay? But there's challenges and obstacles that I have overcome that I would like to share to help other people also overcome these challenges and regain their liberty or a sense of liberty, in their life. I'm going to be bringing awareness to political events that are connected to this terrorist watch list and other terrorist activity that is actually done by our own government, sad to say. And also awareness to these organized criminal activities by government-ran criminal groups, and information for those who are still caught up in it, on what they call the terrorist watch list. But till next time, I love you guys. Be blessed, and come back to see what I got new for you on the life of Lita. And like my fellow YouTubers say, click, subscribe, notify, and share. Mwah!